Welcome to the July 15, 2019 Frankfort Village Board meeting. We call this meeting to order and we ask our clerk, Jean Savaria, to take the roll, please.
Mayor Holland.
Here.
Trustee Borelli.
Here.
Trustee Clavio.
Here.
Trustee Farina.
Here.
Trustee Ogle.
Here.
Trustee Petro.
Here.
Trustee Trevarthen.
Here.
Attorney Mahoney.
Here.
Attorney Lamore.
Present.
Chief Barika. Admin Pisha.
Here.
Admin Cook.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda this evening is what we call the unanimous consent agenda. All items on the unanimous consent agenda are considered routine in nature and will be voted on after a single motion. If one of the trustees wants to remove or discuss one of those items in more detail, we'll just remove it from the consent agenda. So I first ask, do any trustees want to remove any items from the consent agenda? Not hearing any, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that.
We have a motion by Trustee Trevarthen and a second by Trustee Clavio to approve the consent agenda. And we do want the people here in our audience in the boardroom and in the audience at home on the television or on the internet to know something about these items that we're going to pass, hopefully going to pass tonight. And so we'll go over each one of them briefly. The first one is the approval of the minutes from our public hearing that we held on July 1st and from the regular meeting of July 1st. The second item is the approval of the bills and the payroll, and we'll go to Trustee Borelli for a report on those.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The bills tonight total $429,983.09. One of the bigger items on the bill list this evening is a payout to Spees Construction in the amount of $114,423. I'd note that that was one of the 4 projects that's rolled into the IEPA loan, one of the, loan number 2. There was 3 total. And that loan so far, the total contract amount was about $30.7 million, and the amount of change orders we've had on that is $232,000 roughly, so 0.76%. So that's a good news story for the taxpayers. And it's a testament to our staff, our engineers, and doing a lot of work up front. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. And we have an item from our Land Use and Policy Committee. So we'll go to the chair of the Land Use and Policy Committee, Trustee Ogle, for a report on that.
Thank you, Mayor. The request was brought forward to the Land Use and Policy Committee to consider a amendment to one of the Frankfort Code of Ordinances. And back in 2018, we had made an amendment to an ordinance that was put in place in 1994, where the mayor and the trustees would serve as ex officio members, which means that they sit on all committees and they vote on all committees and be counted for that purpose. At the July 10th, 2019 meeting of the Land Use and Policy, it was brought forward to consider an amendment to actually remove those members as ex officio members specifically for the Historic Preservation Commission. So it was the consensus of the committee to forward the recommendation to make the amendment. The motion is to accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance amending the Village of Frankfort Code of Ordinances, Chapter 32, Section 32.075, Advisory Committees, to remove Section D, which is the Historic Preservation Commission. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. And then we have 4 items from our Operations Committee. We'll go to the chair of the Operations Committee, Dick Trevarthen, for a report on those items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item we have this evening is we're going to replace a 203 Ford pickup truck. Only has 165,000 miles on it. It's no longer reliable in mechanical issues. So therefore, this truck new one has been budgeted, will be $28,329. It's going to be purchased from Philip Chevrolet, and what I would reiterate here is, for people who might not know, is that these are state program trucks. The state buys up a lot of trucks, and we municipalities can buy trucks from them, so it saves us a lot of money. The next item I have is road maintenance program resolution. This year we chose to spend $1,894,958. I'd like to say that 1% additional sales tax, in which they helped pass, is helping us. And we put $13, but the average home, I think, pays $13 for garbage pickup, which helps this road program. This is the most we've ever spent. Usually we only spend about I think we hit $1 million once before, but we have 30-some miles of roads, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that it take 16 years to make the turnover of 31 and 33 miles?
It takes about
18 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to get through all the streets. So 11 streets this year. I could read them off here. It's St. Andrews Way to Huntsmore Drive to Sauk Trail, Jeannie Lane, 95th Avenue, Gulfstream Road, Center Road to Mustang Road, Colorado Avenue, Locust Street to 45, Hawthorne Road to Ellison Road, Nebraska Street to Route 30, Schilling Road to Pince Court, Astor Drive, and Astor Court are the roads to be done this year. They're going to be, the lowest bidder was P.T. Farrell. I quoted the price once before. It was $1,894,958.78. P.T. Farrell did the work last year, and I observed them, and I think they do excellent work. So I'm glad to see them get the bid. Next item I have is, it's a amendment to our traffic ordinance, and it's about no semi-truck traffic signs on Jolly Road between Harlem Avenue and Ridgeland Avenue, and on Ridgeland Avenue between Jolly Road and Stunkel Road. These roads were not designed to handle these heavyweight trucks, and damage will start to take place, so therefore we put signage up on these roads to help protect ourselves. That goes in the new traffic code. The next one I have is an engineering service agreement about lead service line replacement. That is coming shortly here. We have hired an engineering company to help us set it all up, to get the loan from, I guess you call it the IEPA, and get the grants, get whatever we get from them. But the engineering company is what this is all about here, and we're going to hire them for the sum of $55,000 so they can help us set up the program that the state of Illinois will accept, so we could get this project started with the money that it will be made available, et cetera. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dick. And then we have two items from our Plan Commission, and we'll go to the Plan Commission liaison, Trustee Clavio, for a report on those two items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item is Method Athletics Special Use Permits at 706 Center Road. The applicant, Gavin Ware, who is actually with us tonight in the audience, has requested the granting of special use permits for indoor recreation and entertainment, and also for extended hours of operation with a 5 a.m. opening to accommodate the business operations of Method Athletics, which is a physical therapy personal training facility at 706 Center Road. There was two meetings that Dr. Ware had to go to. The first was June 27th, a public hearing on the project, and the Plan Commission forwarded at that time a unanimous recommendation to us as the village board to approve the special use for indoor recreation and entertainment. The second meeting on July 11th was a public hearing. The Plan Commission again unanimously forwarded a recommendation to approve the special use permit for extended hours to operate, subject to the overhead door along the northern facade building remaining closed until 7 a.m. Relative to the Method Athletics, the motion before us is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance granting special use permits for indoor recreation and entertainment and extended hours of operation of 5 a.m. opening to permit the operation of Method Athletics proposed at 706 Center Road in accordance with the reviewed plans and public testimony, and conditioned upon the overhead door along the northern facade of the building remaining closed until 7 a.m. That was one sentence. Sorry. The second issue is the Courtney front and side yard variances. The Courtneys are located at 233 Hickory Street. The applicants Craig and Caitlin Courtney proposed to raise their existing covered porch along the front facade of their home located at 233 Hickory Street in the Old Town area, and to construct a new, larger covered porch in its place. The proposed plan encroaches the required front and side yard setbacks, and as such, the applicants requested variances to accommodate its construction. At the July 11th public hearing, the Plan Commission forwarded a unanimous recommendation to the village board as such, and that is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance granting a front yard setback variance from 30 feet to 19 feet 1 inch, and a side yard setback variance from 10 feet to 5 feet 10 inches along the northern property line to accommodate the construction of a covered porch on the front facade of the existing home located at 233 Hickory Street in accordance with the reviewed plans and public testimony. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, John. And let's see, that's it. Those are all the items that we have on our consent agenda this evening. So before we discuss those and vote on those issues, is there anyone in the audience who wanted to make a comment to the village board about any of these items? Hearing none, any questions or comments from the trustees?
Mayor Holland, I have a couple of questions.
Please.
Or comments. The first comment is with regards to the Historic Preservation Committee, or Commission now. I'm excited for the chairman, Marcia Stewart, who's going to lead this all-resident committee. Historic preservation is important to the village of Frankfort. There was an excellent article in the Chicago Tribune this weekend. Mayor Helen, you were quoted in there and said some great things about moving forward to protect our downtown and to value it as a whole community. So I'm excited about that step, and I applaud my fellow trustees for moving forward with that. The second item, I had a question. For the 2019 roadway maintenance program, this year we're paving 11 streets. As a resident south of Laraway, there's a lot of new subdivisions from Harlem all the way down to 116th. Is there a possibility to increase the number of streets paved next year?
I think the simple answer is, of course, yes. And in fact, this year we had looked at doing more roads, and because of budget constraints, we didn't do that. There is some subjectivity to doing the roads, but frankly, Trustee Farina, it's a great thing to bring up. I think we need to increase the budget on road maintenance. And so a good time to do that is during our budget process from January to about April when we pass the budget, and I think it's the right thing to do, but we'll certainly be discussing that in more detail.
I appreciate it, and the support. I would support that as well.
Good.
Yes, Mayor.
We'll look at it. We'll see what our Public Works Department has to say, and but it's a good time to bring it up right now, and it's a good thing to talk about.
Because the roads have been rated and cataloged, so yeah, I'm sure they're already lined up and they can be changed. I just thought maybe I would clarify this a little bit better on the lead thing. We have about 100 of these lead adaptions to houses in Frankfort. We estimate we have about 100. And this engineering thing is made with Robinson Engineering, and we need his professional engineering service to help the agreement to get our loan. I think I made that clear, for the lead service line replacement for a lump sum of $55,000. I just wanted to reiterate that, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. And to continue on Trustee Farina's comments, thanks for the comments on the Historic Preservation Commission. It'll be interesting to see where they go and how they run with this issue. And Trustee Trevarthen, on your comments, yes, residents and people are concerned about lead in the water. I want to assure them there is no lead that comes out of any of Frankfort's wells. There's no lead in any pipe that's owned by the village of Frankfort. We've never seen lead. We've never had a lead issue. It's not there. But we believe, and we're quite certain, that there are some service lines that are owned privately by residents that are connected to our system that do contain lead. We think it's a relatively small number, and it will benefit all of the residents of Frankfort if we can come up with a program to make those service lines that are on private property disappear. The way it stands, if there is a lead incursion inside somebody's home because of those pipes that are privately owned, then all of the citizens of Frankfort have to be told, and all of the citizens of our utility, which is all of Frankfort Square too, need to be told that there is a lead incursion somewhere in the system. And that's one of the reasons this is a very serious issue, and people are very concerned about it, and we're very pleased with our utility department and with Robinson Engineering that they're proposing a way to get this situation corrected. It's frankly a national problem. It's a problem all over the United States. It's a very serious problem in the Chicago area because for many years, Chicago and other nearby towns required lead service lines. Frankfort never did, and in fact, we have very few. So, good. Well, probably enough said on that for now, but I'm sure it'll come up again, and let's see how this program goes, and it's going to take some time. It's lengthy. We're a government. It takes a lot of time to get things done. Anything else about the items tonight? Then we'll go to our clerk, Jean Savaria, for the vote.
Trustee Borelli.
Yes.
Trustee Clavio.
Yes.
Trustee Farina.
Yes.
Trustee Ogle.
Yes.
Trustee Petro.
Yes.
Trustee Trevarthen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item on our agenda is what's called the mayor's report. The first item on the mayor's report is Plan Commission appointment. And this is taking place because our new clerk, Jean Savaria, it was on the Plan Commission. And we think it is best if our clerk is not also a Plan Commissioner. While he probably could remain in that position, I think legally he can, we think it's best to have a different person take that kind of job. And I think Gene kind of thinks so too, because he doesn't want 2 more meetings every month. So we did receive 6 applications, and frankly, as I looked through all those applications, I thought any one of these people would likely make a very good plan commissioner. They seem to be saying, I have the best interests of the people of Frankfort as my motive for applying, that I want to give back to the community. I'm willing to spend some time at this. And they had very good applications indeed. But a fellow named Will Markunis, of course a Frankfort resident, his application stood out. And he's here tonight. And so we appreciate you being here, Will, and I hope you'll come up and say hello to each one of the trustees after the meeting. But that's the person that the trustees and I have reviewed all of the applications, and that's the person that I would like to bring to the trustees tonight for appointment. So I would ask for a motion to approve the appointment of Will Markunis to the Plan Commission to fill the remainder of the appointed term of former Commissioner Jean Savaria.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion by trustee Borelli and a second by trustee Petro. Any discussion? Then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. And we'll swear you in, Will, at the next Plan Commission meeting, which will be a week from Thursday. Next items on our mayor's report are about events going on. The 9th annual Frankfort Bluegrass on the Green Festival was this last weekend, and it was fun indeed. A little bit warm out, but hardly any rain, just a few very light sprinkles on Sunday night. And I was there all day Saturday, and a significant part of the day Sunday, and I certainly enjoyed it, and our hats go off to the volunteers who make this happen, and also to Steve Haberrichter at Down Home Guitars, who underwrites the whole event, and that means he financially backs it with his personal and his company's money. And I know a lot of people donate to it, and there are some sponsors, but it never seems to quite pay the bill, and Steve picks up the rest. So we thank him very much for that. And it's turned out that the streets in our downtown needed to be closed this weekend. There were people all the way across Kansas on Saturday night and down Ash Street a ways, and they were all the way from Fat Rosie's to White Street out in the street. So it was crowded indeed, and just a wonderful event. Popular Amateur Rib Cook-Off set for August 3rd. These are all amateurs. These people come early in the morning and start cooking the ribs in the parking lot in downtown Frankfort, and the tasting begins at 1 o'clock. Yes, you do have to buy a ticket to taste each rib, because we actually make the amateurs who enter this contest pay $100 for the ribs. So it's an expensive event, but there is a first, second, and third place and a crowd pleaser. The Frankfort JCs put on this event along with the Frankfort Lions Club. And again, it's a real fun event, and we hope people will turn out for it, and we hope it cools off a little bit before August 3rd. I'm sure it will. Night Out Against Crime is slated for August 6th. That's turned into a very big event indeed. Hundreds and hundreds of families come out, probably 500 to 750 people or so. There are lots of fun things to do, and it's sponsored by our police department. And one of the fun things to do is get a free hot dog. So that's worthwhile just to see the chief cooking the hot dogs. Weekly happenings in downtown Frankfort. Fridays on the Green. Their last event takes place July 19th. That's at 10 o'clock. That's for young children. And again, interesting things that go on there. It's a fun thing. Let's see, this last week was a person, it's like a wedding entertainer, except for little kids, and they had hula hoop contests and different kinds of things, and he was kind of singing along to all these things. I guess it was a little, like a wedding entertainer, but for 5-year-olds. I liked it. Let's see, what else? We have our cruise nights every Thursday night. They're begin at 5 o'clock and stay until it gets dark, and then the country market on every Sunday, and then concerts on the Green on Sunday evening. We have another opening on our committee structure, and that's for the Historic Preservation Commission. We have received applications, and we're looking for some more. We'll probably keep that open another week or two. We'd like to make that appointment by our next village board meeting so that they have a new member by their next meeting. So applications for the Historic Preservation Commission are available at the Village Administration Building or on the website. And again, this is somebody, you need to be interested in historic preservation, or it's just not the right committee to be on. That's appropriate. You should be very interested in that if you're going to apply. And that concludes the mayor's report, so we'll go to our police chief, John Barica, for the police department report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you said, we do have the National Night Out coming up, including the free hot dogs. I think we went through over 750 of them last year before we ran out. We also have the touch a truck, inflatables will be there, and there's games, but the whole event is free and very family friendly, and the majority of our officers show up to it, so it's a great way to meet the men and women who protect the town of Frankfort. So hopefully people will come out again on August 6th between 6 and 8. Another event we have coming up is our Cone with the Cop, and that will be this Thursday, June 18th, from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. at Colonel Sweettooth. And again, we have many of our officers out there and some of our squad cars and other equipment, so you can come out and meet us. There's no agendas, no speeches, just wait for you to talk to the police and give us some feedback on how we're doing. We appreciate that. And then, of course, finally, I want to remind people to lock their car doors, put their garage doors down, don't leave your keys in your car, and if you see or hear anything, no matter what time of day or night it is, please call us so we can come and investigate. That's all I have today.
Thank you, John. And now for our village administrator's report, we go to our village administrator, Rob Pisha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I wanted to let people know that the trees that were removed earlier in the year for the Emerald Ash Borer program, we had the delay because of weather getting the trees out of the ground, while our vendor was able to get the trees out, which now is extremely bad timing because of the hot weather, but they will be planted in the next this next week. Staff will put the gator bags on there, which are the ones that help release moisture into the soil around the roots. We would just ask any residents that get any new trees that if you could just make sure the gator bag, if you could fill it, but staff will be trying to check that as well. Also, just some questions had come up about some markings in people's parkways and issues with water main replacement. Right now, our vendor, our engineering firms are going around marking locations for potential water main replacement that would happen in either the fall or the spring. Basically what they'll do is we're figuring out for budgetary constraints, and then that'll come back to the board for review and approval, and then we'll make sure that there's ample notification to the public so they're aware that when the mains are going to be replaced and any changes may happen or in any inconveniences that may occur during that time. So this is just a very preliminary stage, so people shouldn't be concerned that it's going to be happening tomorrow. And then finally, just a follow-up to the conversation about the street maintenance program. We did tonight approve a little over $1.8 million to PT Farrell. I just want the public also to know that the board had approved as part of the budget a total of $2.2 million to be spent on street maintenance program. So not only will you have the resurfacing, but there will also be some additional patching done on other streets, and there'll also be some crack sealing on some of the other streets. And actually, we're doing some preventative crack sealing on some of our newer streets to try to help them last longer. So I just want the public to know that the board has taken it serious as far as the maintenance on the streets, and we've gone from basically $500,000 a few years ago up to $900,000 and 1.8 last year. Now we're up to $2.2 million. So it is a very important thing. We know that's important to the residents to have their streets in good condition. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Rob. And now for our village attorney's report, we go to our village attorneys, George Mahoney and Hannah Lamore.
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. And that brings us to the part of our meeting we call Other Business. And this evening we'll start with our new clerk, Jean Savaria.
I would just like to thank Will for applying, and I know you'll be very good in the job, and it's very rewarding. I'm sure Trustee Petro and Trustee Farina would agree with me there.
Thank you, Jean. Trustee Clavio.
I just have two things tonight, Mayor. One is to welcome Will. I'm sure he'll do a fantastic job. And the second thing is to piggyback on what you said about the Historic Commission. It is an important role because it maintains the integrity of our historic downtown area. But don't think that you have to live in that district to serve on the committee, because that district is very important to us as a community as a whole. And it's important to have input from people who are not directly living or working in that district as well. So I would encourage anybody who has concern to preserve that district, maintain that district, even if you don't live in that district, to actually apply for that committee. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Good point, John. Thank you. Trustee Petro.
Thank you, Mayor Holland. I also just want to welcome Will. Congratulations. I was really encouraged by the number of applications for the Planning Commission, and I just think it's a great signal that more residents want to be involved. And I'd just like to echo both Trustee Clavio and the mayor's comments around the historic preservation opening. In addition, you don't need to be an expert in historic preservation. They have some great resources within the state and within Will County to really help guide this effort. So if you're passionate about it and you want to get involved, I would encourage you to apply.
Good comments, Jessica, thanks. And Trustee Trevarthen.
Well, welcome, Will. I don't know you yet, sir, but I'm sure I'll get to know you soon. Anyway, I have a little pet peeve when it comes to landscaping is I don't know if I'm preaching to the choir, but the grass, when you cut your parkways and that, do not go into the street. They're supposed to stay up on your property, just like the same way we talk about leaves. We don't want all the grass in the gutters either. So thought I'd make a comment about that. And also I'd like to congratulate Steve. He always does a great job on the Bluegrass Festival. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Trustee Farina.
Thank you, Mayor Holland. Congratulations, Will. It is an exciting opportunity for you. I wish you much luck. Best wishes. I'd also want to acknowledge the Frankfort Police Department. As a new trustee, I requested a ride-along and got to ride along with Sergeant Giacomo on Friday night. He is a fantastic employee of the Frankfort Police Department, as all are. He's very dedicated. He took me around town to the borders. He showed me the industrial section, the downtown section, the 45-30 corridors and versus big box, and explained the different approach, backup for your officers, make sure they're safe, which we want them safe in our community. I learned a lot, and that was the point of it, and I really appreciate the warm welcome and efforts by the police department. Thank you. Finally, one other item, Frankfort Lions Verse Fest is Thursday, August 29th. Mark your calendar from 6 to 10:30 at the Garden on Kansas and Oak. It celebrates our town's German heritage, and it kicks off the Frankfort Fall Fest. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Trustee Ogle.
Thank you, Mayor. Hopefully I'll leave something for Trustee Borelli by the time we're done here. I have a few things. Being out over the weekend at the Bluegrass, I guess we'd start with that one. Again, they did a tremendous job, Steve Haberichter and all of his volunteers. This group comes together, puts on a tremendous fest. It's family-friendly, brings people all over the place. The music was fantastic. There were some artists that were there. They were stars that I knew from other genres that came and were playing in bluegrass bands. John Jorgensen was one of them. And I was excited. I'm not a big bluegrass guy, like the rock and roll stuff, but it was fantastic to hear them there. And again, thank you to Steve and his entire group of volunteers for this. Will, I want to welcome you to the Plan Commission. I don't really know you either at this point. We'll get to know each other, and we'll be discussing things on policy and direction, and wish you all the best, and I'm sure you'll do a great job. Your resume looked impressive, and we had some tremendous people that applied once again, and that's very encouraging to see for this here. Now, the police have put together a little pamphlet, I guess, when the officers are out, a service pamphlet. I was very pleased to see that in the blotter and the things that the police are doing in a forward way. When they're coming upon other sites, there's people with drug issues, domestic issues, and instead of just policing or arresting someone and going through the legal process, here's some resources that we can kind of help you along the way, and maybe you can turn your life around, change the trajectory of your life. So I was very encouraged to see that. I don't know if that was that Officer Bender, Sergeant Bender, that put together?
Put together, yep.
Okay. Again, I appreciate what you're doing on behalf of the community here. Being out all weekend with the festivals and that, a lot of people came up, had a lot of questions, a lot of things they were asking back and forth. One had to do with solicitors' permits. A lot of pest control people are knocking on the doors. I had one about a year ago, And I asked him, I said, well, where's your solicitor's permit? Oh, yeah. He's giving me all the thing. Oh, I think it's in my pocket. Oh, no, it's not in my pocket. It's back in the car. And then he goes right back into his spiel. And I said, no, hold on. So all of the solicitors are required to have their permits displayed with them when they're out, right? So if someone comes to your door and they don't have the permit, ask them for it. If they try to bamboozle you and keep going with their spiel, shut them down. Call the non-emergency number for the police. The police will come by where they're cruising around. You don't know what their actual purpose is, so let's watch out for each other in there. A fellow that was actually in Manhattan had asked whether there was a something on the website where they publish the list of the solicitor's permits. I think that might be a little too much to do, and no one would know to go and check them anyway in most cases. But just if you're out and someone comes to the door selling whatever product, they need to have a displayed permit when you're here. We rely very heavily on our community service officers here in Frankfort. They did a wonderful job again, and I want to send my condolences out to the Plainfield CEO, or CSO, that was killed in a car crash this last week. Yeah, Tyler. And to his family also. Again, I hope I leave something for you, Adam, tonight. There's just a lot that we were bombarded with over the weekend, in a good way. The road maintenance that you brought up, Trustee Farina, as trustees, we do set those priorities. We work with the staff to do the budget, so like the village administrator said, we would start a few years back. We had a $500,000 budget for road maintenance, and we've been prioritizing replacing these. So when we go forward in it, right now we're at $2.2 million for this year. So I think as a group, I think it's a great idea. I'm glad that you brought that forward and that idea, and that's kind of our responsibility to, if we want to advance that, because there are roads and subdivisions that were developed 15 years ago, pre-recession, some that weren't built out, and we had to prioritize as well financially to get through that as well. So it was a good thing. I think I have one final one here too. Oh, actually, there was two more. Next week, we're looking, or later in this week, we're looking at 100-degree temperatures and maybe higher with the heat index. Are we going to be open as a cooling center? I know we had done that at some time in the past.
We're open as a cooling center during the day, so people can come here in the
Okay.
event of an emergency, but we do not have after-hours times.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure where else usually somewhere else in the community. I know the library doesn't open at all. I don't know if the Park District or somewhere else, but so at least during the day, they can come here and cool down if your air conditioning is not working, or just get some relief from the heat. Okay, and the final thing I had, again, was just kind of a strange thing. There was a news item, an international news item about Rwanda, an issue on the border there, and happened to be somebody had overheard it. I was listening to it on the radio as well, and they said, "Oh, is that where Black Panther's from, Wakanda?" And today just also happens to be the end of the 25th anniversary of the end of the Rwandan genocide. And this is one of those things, if you're summer reading and you're studying, this is something I think it's important for everybody to know about this. And there are a lot of books and materials out there, and again, it just happened to hit me just the way it came up. When we don't study our own history, or we don't study world history, we tend to forget some very important things, very important lessons. So hopefully people will pay attention to what's going on in the world, and let's not forget our history. That's all I have, Mayor.
Wow, thanks, Keith. On the cooling center, Rob, last winter I think we had a warming center when we had the extreme cold, just in case people lost power. They'd have a place that they could go here. And if I'm not mistaken, we did that by contact the police or how do we do that?
Initially, yes, it was to contact the police department, and I would come out in an
And then
emergency.
we'd just come out and open the building up.
Right, we'd let somebody in, correct.
Yeah, you got to be on standby.
Yes.
That was what it was, I
Yeah.
think. Well, I'll be around this weekend, so my number's pretty easy to find. So anybody who has a problem, feel free to give me a call.
Mayor, just on a additional note, I just looked up as well that the Will County EMA does list all the warming and cooling centers on their website for the entire county. So you can go to Will County EMA for that.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice, we have a beautiful building here, and it has a generator that will run the whole building. So if there's an issue in our town, we're going to be able to open this up pretty quickly. So keep that in mind, people, if there's a major power outage or something.
Mm-hmm.
But even if it's just your house, call me, and we'll see what we can do. Trustee Borelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Trustee Little was pretty thorough. Just say welcome, Will. Thanks for applying, and to all the applicants that applied, I hope you continue to apply it for future positions. There's always opportunities that pop up, so keep at it. And just also congratulations to Steve Habrichter and all the volunteers that come together to put that event together. It's so fantastic. I got to catch just a little bit of it at the end on Sunday. Hopefully next year I can stay for the whole thing. But it's just a fantastic job. And I also want to say thank you to the police and Public Works, who do a great job supporting not just this event, but all the events that we have. And everything ran smoothly from what I could tell. And so thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. And that brings us to the part of our meeting we call public comments. Is there anyone who wanted to speak to the village board tonight? Yes. Please come forward.
Hello, village board. My name is Stephanie Spicer, and my husband and I, Sheldon, are 19-year residents of the Homestead community in Frankfort. And I'm actually here because I wanted to share something very good and positive about our village. My husband and I have two sons, Sean and Shane, 18 and 15 respectively. And on June 30th, my youngest son, Shane, was hit by a van while riding his bike. Now, fortunately, Shane is all right, or else I probably couldn't talk to you today. He sustained significant injuries, including a concussion and a facial fracture, but he's fine, and he's on the mend, and I'm thankful for that. But why I'm really here is I want to thank my fellow residents, the police department, the fire department, and the first responders who took such great care of my son. My understanding is that it actually occurred crossing Elsner from the trail. And my understanding is that there were a couple of runners who were there, witnessed the accident, and immediately went to my son to help him. I also understand that there was a off-duty state trooper who is a Frankfort resident, Alan Ulsagrai, not sure the pronunciation, who pulled his car over, got out, recognized my son, and stayed with him until the first responders came. I got a phone call. I was a significant distance away from Frankfort. I was 40 minutes away. And Sergeant Potter I spoke with on the phone, and I had post-traumatic stress from that call. And Sergeant Potter actually kind of talked me off the ledge as I drove to Silver Cross Hospital to get to my child. Additionally, I got texts at the hospital from Sergeant Potter checking on Shane. And lastly, he and his dispatcher, Kristen, came to my home once Shane was discharged to see how he was and brought gifts to Shane. So in a culture where we're inundated with such negative energy, I am here to just share my heartfelt appreciation and give praise to my village. Thank you.
Well, that's very nice, Stephanie. Thank you. What a great comment, and also about our police department, John. So be sure Sergeant Potter hears this. Thank you. Anyone else? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.